Hello, you are watching Into Vietnam. I'm Minh Nguyệt. Following our major stories on Tuesday. FDI in March was estimated to reach $1.2 billion. State-owned enterprises sector contributed 35% to Vietnam's GDP. And rice export to China in March doubles the total of the first 2 months. FDI registered capital to Vietnam in March was estimated at over $1 billion. This brought FDI capital in Vietnam in the first 3 months of the year to $2.63 billion, with Japan as the leading country of FDI capital poured into Vietnam. More details in the following stories.
As reported by the Overseas Investment Department under the Ministry of Planning and Investment, FDI registered capital into Vietnam in March reached $1.23 billion. The figure is equal to the total FDI in the first 2 months of the year. March FDI is mostly contributed by the investment in Tokyo Bình Dương Urban Zone project worth $1.2 billion. In the same month, processing and manufacturing industry pledged and raised a total FDI capital of over $1 billion and the warehouse sector $180 million. Japan was the leading country in foreign direct investment in Vietnam in the first quarter of this year. The country made up nearly 89%, about $2.3 billion in newly registered and added capital. Statistics from the Foreign Investment Agency showed that the Netherlands and Taiwan followed with a total capital value of $46.1 million and $42.9 million. In the first 3 months, the aggregate newly registered and added FDI capital in Vietnam was $2.63 million, equaling 63.6% of the level in the same period last year. Meanwhile, disbursed FDI projects were valued at $2.55 billion, equivalent to 99.2% of the same period last year level.
The Ministry of Finance said in 2011, Vietnam state-owned enterprises contributed 35% to the country's GDP. By the end of last year, the country had a total of 1,039 state-owned enterprises with total assets of 1,800 trillion dong. By the end of last year, the country has a total of 1,039 state-owned enterprises with total assets of 1,800 trillion dong. This sector was reported to contribute 231 trillion dong to the state budget and produce roughly 40% of the country's total industrial output, more than 50% of export revenues, and 29% of total collections. State-owned enterprises also provided over 1 million jobs each year with average income of 3.5 to 5 million dong per month each person. The socio-economic development strategy through 2030 of Hanoi has targeted the development of a knowledge-based economy. Its priority is industries which apply advanced technology and generate high added value. The following news will tell you more about the strategy.
Under the strategy recently approved by the Prime Minister, Hanoi would be a metropolitan with a population of about 9.2 million by 2030. Its annual GDP growth would average about 10%, and GDP per capita would increase tenfold to about $17,000 per year. The services sector would grow at the highest rate annually, between 9.5% and 10.5%, and employ up to 60% of workers in the city by 2030. The proportion of workers in manufacturing and construction would reach 35%, while the percentage of agricultural workers would fall to only 5%. The resulting service-based and industrialized economy would maintain an unemployment rate of below 4%. To reach these goals, the city is estimated to need investment of $190 billion in the next decade and another $320 billion during 2020 and 2030 period.
The Vietnam National Coal and Mineral Industry Group, or Vinacomin, won't be able to sell aluminum from next month as Tân Rai, Vietnam's first bauxite processing plant, starts to be tested. During that period, Tân Rai will operate at 70 to 80% capacity or designated capacity of 600,000 tons of aluminum each year. According to a Villacom estimated, Tân Rai aluminum bauxite plant will produce about 300,000 tons of aluminum this year, and this volume is expected to reach 500,000 tons in 2013 and 650,000 tons in 2014. Following is some foreign trade news.
As reported by the General Statistics Office, automobile imports of Vietnam were only 7,000 units, totaling $135 million. The figures dropped by 54% and 51.4% on the year respectively. Vietnam bought from overseas about 2,000 units worth $40 million in February and 3,000 units worth $53 million in March. Purchasing power in local automobile market is said to be much affected by higher registration fee in Hanoi and Ho Chi Minh City. The application of new fees, including road maintenance fee, is forecast to continue hindering the market in the near future. Vietnam's registered rice export to China through official channels has reached 450,000 tons in March. The export volume this month doubled the total of the first 2 months. At present, price of 5% broken rice exported to China is ranging from $435 to $440 per ton. Despite high demand of Chinese leaders, sales volume to them is still very low, as local firms are feared of suffering loss when local rice prices increase. Purchasing power in local rice market has recently increased thanks to the approved stockpile scheme of 1 million tons. The Vietnam Association of Seafood Export and Processing warned that some Vietnamese starfish exporters are offering low export prices. This is said to be an alarming situation as Vietnam's starfish have still been investigated and imposed anti-dumping tax. In January, starfish exported to the US from Vietnam were priced at around $3,540 per ton, up $240 per ton compared to the same period last year, but down $10 against last December. So far, the number of exporters offering low prices has doubled from a couple of years ago.
After the State Bank of Vietnam decided to lower lending interest rates, some domestic commercial banks like Ocean Bank, ACB or Cbank have announced to reduce their dong-denominated interest rates. This has made several investors to consider withdrawing their savings to switch to other investment channels, and real estate sector is predicted to be the top priority.
Local real estate market has been frozen since late June, when the government decided to tighten monetary policy to curb inflation. Then credit for non-production sector in general and for the property sector in particular was blocked, and the hikes in lending interest rate put a pause to all transactions. High interest rate and tightened credit for real estate also negatively influence on the ongoing projects, even those with priority in terms of capital arrangement. The local real estate market was then in the toughest situation since its formation. Earlier in March this year, the country's central bank for the first time unveiled its roadmap of reducing interest rates, which had never been done before. If the roadmap is followed orderly, in which deposits interest rate is lowered to 10% by the end of 2011, the interest rate can be reduced by 1% each quarter. Since 12th of March, many domestic commercial banks have begun announcing their newly offered interest rates to customers. Accordingly, selling deposits interest rate for individuals was at most 13% per year for 1 month term and above. Lower deposit interest rate and devaluation of dong has made many investors reconsider their investment channels.
Nó sẽ rẻ hơn phần nào đó, và việc chi phí vốn nó rẻ hơn thì cái phần giá thành bất động sản nó cũng rẻ hơn. Hai nữa là cái việc lãi suất ngân hàng giảm đi thì rõ ràng nó sẽ giảm cái việc mà hấp dẫn của của những cái người có tiền, họ cân nhắc là mua sản phẩm bất động sản hay gửi tiết kiệm, thì cái đó nó sẽ là rất tích cực, tốt cho doanh nghiệp bất động sản.
Deposits interest rates is not enough to offset inflation rate, while other investment channels like gold or US dollar are not stable. Third, real estate becomes the only long-term investment channel. However, experts said 1% reduction of deposits interest rates is not strong enough to push depositors to withdraw savings for investment in real estate, especially when main banks don't change the interest rate cap.
Tín dụng bất động sản cũng như là tín dụng tiêu dùng và tín dụng cho chứng khoán vẫn nằm trong cái phạm trù là các tín dụng không được khuyến khích và vẫn bị khống chế bởi cái trần 16%. Thành ra nội cái việc đó, cái việc mà đẩy mặt bằng lãi suất xuống chưa chắc đã đưa đến cái hiệu quả, cái hậu quả là tín dụng cho bất động sản sẽ được nới rộng và giúp cho lĩnh vực bất động sản khởi sắc.
Thực ra cái việc mà đấy là cái trần huy động, còn cái trần cho vay ra thì cái việc mà hạ được 1% thì hay là nó thực ra nó có hạ được thật không, thì thực ra tôi nghĩ rằng cái đó nó còn là một cái áp lực rất lớn đối với các doanh nghiệp. Và cái việc mà với cả cái áp lực về lãi suất như vậy thì cái việc mà các nhà đầu tư người ta có thể hạ được giá thành bất động sản xuống là cả một vấn đề khó khăn.
Besides, certain policies or regulations suffer time lag to take effect. This also makes interest rate cut fail to rebound the real estate market immediately. Particularly, the market is believed to hit the bottom when deposit interest rate is lowered to 13%. However, it's unsure that if the market will go up or go down in the last fourth quarter. So many investors still stay cautious and wait for further price decreases.
Các doanh nghiệp cảm thấy nhẹ nhàng trong vấn đề mà chịu đựng những cái gánh nặng tài chính, rồi các doanh nghiệp cảm thấy nhẹ nhàng hơn, rộng rãi hơn trong cái vấn đề mà tiếp cận các nguồn vốn, thì tôi nghĩ là nó cần một cái độ trễ, và tôi nghĩ rằng ít nhất là phải 6 tháng.
Lower interest rate means the local macroeconomy has bettered, inflation is controlled, and tightened public investment is expected to be gradually loosened. All these bring positive signals to the local real estate market. However, the market takes time to receive positive influences.
The final part of the program will be the updates on the local gold, forex and securities markets.
On gold market, one till of HJC gold was bought at 44.12 million dong per till and sold at 44.37 million dong per till. On the forex market at banks, the US dollar bid ranged from 20,830 dong to 20,850 dong, and the dollar ask was from 20,890 dong to 20,910 dong. On the unofficial market, one US dollar was bought at 20,860 dong and sold at 20,890 dong. On securities market, VN Index dropped 13.34 points to end at 445.92. The market breadth was negative on the primary bourse, where 75 stocks advanced, 189 tumbled. VN30 index sank 14.86 points to close at 502.41. Among 30 members, 2 rallied, 27 declined, and 1 was unmoved. Liquidity rose nearly 50% from a day earlier to 121 million shares and fund certificates, valued at 1,617 billion dong, up 26%. HNX index closed at 74.95. Among index members, 92 rallied and 199 tumbled. The market volume was up 20% from a day earlier to 123.5 million shares worth 1,167 billion dong, up 12%.
That's it for Into Vietnam on March the 27th. Thanks for joining us. Goodbye for now and see you this time tomorrow.